When Sember rubbed the forbidden powder on her skin, she became more beautiful than the moon. Men stared, women gossiped, and even Taraku forgot his first wife, but the spirits were only waiting for their payment. And, in the dead of night, before the whole village, a gourd burst in Sember's hands. The oracle shouted, "The gods have spoken," and from that moment, nothing was ever the same. Taraku was a man everybody in Makurdi knew. He had cows, big farmland, and a compound that always had people going in and out. From outside, you would think his life was sweet. But inside that house Walla lived. Taraku had 2 wives. The first one, Kwadoo, was the kind of woman people turned head to look at. Her skin was smooth, her body full, her wrappers always new. She liked to dress as if every day was market day. When she laughed, the whole compound would hear it. Even the way she walked showed she knew she was fine. The second wife, Sember, was not like that. Her skin was dark like burnt groundnut shell. She didn't have plenty of wrappers. Most of her clothes looked washed out. She didn't talk too much. She didn't laugh too loud. She just stayed in her corner quietly, doing her work. If 10 people entered the compound, 9 would notice Kwadoo. Maybe only 1 would even remember that Sember was there. The way their rooms were arranged also showed the difference. Kwadoo's room faced the rising sun. Bright curtains, perfume smell, shiny earrings and beads scattered everywhere. It was a room that shouted, "Look at me." Sember's room was at the back, close to the old mud wall. The place was always a little damp. Her bed was small, her calabash cracked, and the only sweet thing about that space was the smell of shea butter she rubbed on her skin. Every morning, Taraku would come out and sit in the courtyard. Kwadoo was always the first to rush forward with food. She would kneel with her wrapper tied tight, smiling wide. "Eat, my husband," she would say, almost singing. "This soup will make your body strong." Taraku would laugh, pat her back, and praise her in front of everybody. Sember too would bring her food, but she didn't talk much. She just set it down gently and stepped aside. Sometimes Taraku ate it, sometimes he didn't even touch it. Even when he ate, he never said anything. That was how life was in Taraku's compound. One wife shining like midday sun, the other one sitting quietly in the shadows. Sember never complained, but the way her eyes followed Kwadoo every day, it was clear her heart was not at peace. Little by little, the fire started to grow. Kwadoo never wasted time to remind Sember of her place. If Taraku bought her a new wrapper, she would tie it and walk round the compound, swinging her waist as if she was dancing. "See how it fits me," she would say loudly, knowing Sember could hear. "Not every woman can carry cloth like this. Some people, no matter what they wear, still look like they borrowed it." Her friends would laugh. Sember would keep her face straight, but inside her chest, the words cut like razor. When Taraku returned from farm, Kwadoo would run and wash his feet with warm water, rubbing his legs as if he was a king. She would press his shoulders, feed him with her own hands, and sit close to him till night. Sember would wait in her corner, hoping one day Taraku would call her first. But the call never came. Even the servants noticed. They served Kwadoo with respect, while they treated Sember like she was just another worker in the house. At night, when everyone was asleep, Sember would sit quietly on her small bed, staring at the clay wall. Her heart was heavy, her eyes wet, but no sound came out of her mouth. She began to ask herself, "Am I truly a wife in this house, or just somebody occupying space?" From that moment, jealousy started to settle inside her. She didn't show it, she didn't speak it, but it was there, growing like a seed under the ground, waiting for rain. The way Taraku behaved in the house made everything worse. He didn't even know he was pouring kerosene on fire. Whenever Kwadoo cooked, he would praise her in front of everybody. "Ah, my wife, this soup's sweet like honey," he would say, licking his fingers. "Only you know how to cook it this way." Kwadoo would smile wide, throwing a quick glance at Sember as if to say, "Did you hear that?" But when Sember cooked, Taraku ate quietly. Sometimes he didn't even touch the food. If he did, no single word of praise left his mouth. He would just push the plate aside and stand up. The same thing happened with clothes. Kwadoo would tie her new wrapper, walk past him, and Taraku would open his mouth to admire her. See how fine my wife is. You look like queen today. But when Sember wore her wrapper, even the little new ones she managed to buy, Taraku's eyes never moved. It was as if she was invisible. Day by day, Sember's heart grew heavier. She started to avoid sitting near them. She began to eat alone, laugh less, talk less. But in her mind, a voice kept whispering, "One day things will change. Kwadoo will not always be the sun in this house." That thought, small as it was, gave her strength. But it also gave her bitterness. And bitterness, once it enters, hardly ever leaves. From that day, peace left Taraku's compound completely. The wives no longer hid their feelings. Their rivalry started showing in small, sharp ways. If Kwadoo fetched water early in the morning, she would pour some on the ground where Sember usually passed. When Sember stepped there and slipped, Kwadoo would laugh, clapping her hands. "Ah, my sister, even the earth does not want you to walk boldly," she would say, pretending it was a joke. Sember wiped the mud from her legs and said nothing. But her eyes followed Kwadoo like a hawk. When it was Sember's turn to cook, Kwadoo would pass by the kitchen, peeping into the pot. She would say, wrinkling her nose. "This one smells like medicine. I pray Taraku's stomach survives it." Sember, anger boiling inside, would stir the pot harder. Later that night, she deliberately oversalted Kwadoo's soup, then pretended it was a mistake. Taraku spat it out in front of everybody, and Kwadoo's face burned with shame. "Kwadoo," Sember whispered to her later, "so even beauty cannot cover every flaw?" Kwadoo's lips tightened. She did not reply, but the hatred in her eyes was clear. Even the children began to feel it. When Sember's son tried to play with Kwadoo's daughter, Kwadoo pulled her child away. "Don't mix with them," she said sharply. "Some people carry bad luck." Sember heard it. That night, she told her son quietly, "Don't worry, my child. One day the world will know who truly carries bad luck." The compound was no longer a home. It became a battlefield. Words became knives, actions became traps. And Taraku, blind to the poison growing between his wives, thought it was only ordinary quarrel of women. But in Sember's heart, bitterness was no longer just a seed. It had grown into a tree with roots, and it was searching for blood to water it. The more Sember fought with words, the more she realized they were not enough. Kwadoo's beauty was like a shield. No matter what insult she threw, it bounced back. Taraku's eyes still followed Kwadoo. His laughter still rose loudest in her presence. One night, when the compound was asleep, Sember sat outside under the moon. She rubbed her cracked calabash with shaky hands and whispered, "If only I could be seen. If only once his eyes would rest on me." Her tears fell on the earth, and as if the ground heard her, a thought entered her mind, the old woman by the river. Everybody knew about her. They called her Ayandombata, the one who dealt in things better left untouched. People said she gave charms that could bend destiny, but her gifts always asked for payment. The next evening, Sember tied her faded wrapper, covered her head with a scarf, and slipped out of the compound like a thief. She walked through the bush path until she reached the river. The place was quiet, except for the sound of crickets and the splash of water. Out of the shadows, the old woman appeared, bent like a stick, her eyes sharp as burning coal. "I knew you would come," Ayandombata said. Her voice was like dry leaves scratching each other. "You are tired of being invisible." Sember knelt quickly, her heart pounding. "Mama, help me. I am tired of being mocked. I want to be seen. I want to be loved like Kwadoo." The old woman opened a small gourd, scooped out a fine white powder, and blew it into the air. The powder sparkled under the moonlight like crushed stars. "This," she said, "will make your skin shine, your eyes glow, your husband's heart burn for you. But remember, beauty bought with envy is like fire in dry grass. It will spread, and it will consume." Sember took the powder with trembling hands. She didn't ask what the payment would be. She didn't care. All she wanted was to finally stand beside Kwadoo without shame. That night, for the first time in years, she smiled. Sember woke before dawn. She sat on her small mat, staring at the calabash that held the white powder the old woman gave her. Her hands shook as she opened it. "Beauty bought with envy is like fire in dry grass." The old woman's words echoed in her head. But Sember ignored them. She dipped her fingers into the powder and rubbed it across her face, her arms, her chest. The moment it touched her skin, a strange warmth spread through her body. She looked into her small broken mirror and gasped. Her skin glowed like river water under the sun. The dark patches that once shamed her were gone. Her eyes sparkled, her lips looked fuller. For the first time in her life, Sember felt beautiful. That morning, when she walked into the courtyard, even the servants dropped their chores. "Ah," one of them whispered. "Is this not Sember? Or is it a different woman?" Taraku was sitting under the mango tree, tying his wrapper. He lifted his head and his eyes froze. "Sember," he breathed. He had never said her name like that before. His eyes followed her the way they once followed Kwadoo. Kwadoo was carrying a calabash of water when she saw it. The water splashed on the ground as her hands trembled. She looked from her husband's face to Sember's shining skin, and her chest tightened. That night, for the first time in many years, Taraku called Sember to his room. From that day the balance shifted. Taraku praised Sember's cooking, laughed at her jokes, bought her wrappers from the market. When they went to gatherings, people whispered, "See how fine Sember has become. She even outshines Kwadoo." Kwadoo's pride began to crack. She no longer laughed loudly. Her smile was stiff. She started to sleep restlessly, waking up in the middle of the night to check her face in the mirror. But while Sember enjoyed her new place in the sun, she began to notice something strange. At night, when she removed her wrapper, her skin felt hot, almost burning. Sometimes it peeled like roasted yam skin, then healed back by morning. When she scratched her arm, fine white powder flaked off like ash. The beauty the charm gave her was sweet by day, but by night, it was turning into torment. Still, Sember said nothing. She told herself, "It is a small price to pay. Let Kwadoo watch me shine. Let Taraku love me. Even if I burn inside, I will not stop." But fire, once it starts, does not ask the owner where to stop. It was the day of the New Yam festival in Taraku's village. The square was filled with drums, dancers, and the smell of roasted corn. Chiefs from nearby towns had gathered, their wives sitting proudly beside them in their finest wrappers. Taraku arrived with both wives. Kwadoo wore her bright blue lace, her coral beads shining in the sun. She walked with her head high, determined to remind people she was still the first wife. But when Sember stepped down from the horse, the crowd gasped. Her skin glowed, her wrapper of deep red shimmered like fire, and the golden anklets on her feet sang as she moved. Children ran after her, shouting her name. "Ha! Taraku's younger wife is a goddess," women whispered. "Even Kwadoo's beauty has become shadow beside her." The drummers caught the spirit. Their talking drums changed tune. Kwadoo, the faded moon. Sember, the rising sun. Kwadoo's hands trembled as she adjusted her wrapper. She sat beside Taraku, but his eyes never left Sember. Every time Sember smiled, he leaned closer, laughing loudly, clapping like a boy seeing his first masquerade. When it was time to dance, the chief's wives were called one by one. Kwadoo stood first, her waist moving to the drum. She danced with skill, the way she had always done. Some clapped politely, but when Sember rose, the entire square erupted. Her body flowed like water, her steps carried pride, her laughter scattered joy. Even the drummers forgot themselves, beating harder, faster. Taraku himself jumped up, spraying her with money, shouting, "Sember, my jewel, my pride." Kwadoo stopped dancing. Her feet grew heavy as shame washed over her. She stood there, frozen, while the crowd cheered only for Sember. An old woman sitting nearby shook her head and said, "When two wives wrestle for one man's heart, the one with the stronger charm will dance while the other weeps." Kwadoo's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. She sat back down slowly, her jaw tight. Inside her, something snapped. She looked at Sember, glowing under the sun, and whispered under her breath, "This war is not over. Even if the earth must shake, I will not let you win." And as the drums continued to praise Sember, the bitterness in Kwadoo's heart began to brew into something darker than jealousy. After the New Yam festival, Sember's name spread through Taraku's town like Harmattan fire. Women gossiped in the market. "Have you seen Sember lately? She is finer than palm oil on white yam. Kwadoo should just pack her things and go. Her sun has set. Even men who came to greet Taraku could not hide their eyes. They stared at Sember, bowing lower than necessary, their words sweet like honey. Taraku noticed. Instead of jealousy, it filled him with pride. Look at her, he boasted to his friends. The gods blessed me with a wife who blinds the world with beauty. In the compound, the servants shifted their loyalty. They rushed to Sember first, carrying her water, sweeping her part of the house. When Kwadoo called, they answered slowly, dragging their feet. One afternoon, when Kwadoo shouted at a maid for burning her stew, the girl muttered under her breath, "If it was Sember, I would never make such mistake." Kwadoo's ears burned. She slapped the girl, but even that did not bring back her respect. At night, Taraku's footsteps no longer turned toward Kwadoo's room. Sember's hut was the one that glowed with lamplight till dawn, laughter spilling into the night air. Even Sember's children began to walk with pride, boasting in the playground. "My mother is the jewel of this compound. My father loves her more than gold." One evening, Taraku gathered the family for a small feast. The meat was roasted goat, and palm wine flowed freely. As everyone ate, Taraku lifted his calabash and declared, "From today, Sember will sit beside me at the council. Her wisdom and beauty are too great to be hidden inside these walls." The courtyard went silent. Kwadoo's jaw tightened, her hand shaking on her spoon. This was the seat she once held with honor. Now before her eyes, Sember had taken it. Sember smiled sweetly, pretending humility. "Ah, my husband, I am only a woman. But if my presence will bring you joy, I cannot refuse." The guests clapped. Taraku beamed. Kwadoo felt her chest tighten, as if a heavy stone pressed on it. In front of everyone, her position as first wife had been broken. Her face remained calm, but her heart was storming. That night, when the compound grew quiet, Kwadoo lay awake staring at the roof. Every cheer for Sember at the feast still echoed in her head. She knew one truth clearly. If she did not strike soon, she would be erased completely. The night after Taraku placed Sember beside him at the council, Kwadoo could not sleep. Her body lay still on the mat, but her mind was running like a trapped goat. "How can I, Kwadoo, the first wife, be pushed aside like an old calabash?" she thought. "This girl has taken my place, my husband, my pride. If I do nothing, I will vanish like smoke." When dawn came, Kwadoo rose before the cock crowed. She tied her wrapper tightly around her chest, covered her head with a black scarf, and slipped out of the compound quietly. She did not go to the market, or to the river, or to her family's house. Her feet carried her deep into the bush path, the one children feared to pass at night. The trees grew thicker, the air colder. Birds stopped singing. Kwadoo's heart beat fast, but her anger pushed her forward. She walked until she reached a small shrine hidden under an irako tree. Cowrie shells and broken clay pots littered the ground. An old man sat there, his beard long and white, his eyes sharp like a hawk's. He was the one people whispered about, Baba Nayam, the one who gave charms that could lift or destroy. Kwadoo bowed low, her voice trembling. "Baba, I need help. My co-wife has stolen my husband's heart. She shines while I fade. I want my place back. I want her to fall." Baba Nayam studied her for a long time, then smiled faintly. "You women," he said, "your battles are louder than drums. But know this, when you beg the spirits to fight for you, they always demand payment." "I am ready," Kwadoo said quickly. "I will give whatever it takes." The old man rose slowly, his bones cracking. He fetched a black gourd from inside the shrine and placed it in her hands. The gourd felt warm, almost alive. "Rub this on your skin each night," he told her. "Your beauty will not only return, it will outshine hers. But beware, the spirits do not give without taking. Hold your pride too tightly, and it may choke you." Kwadoo pressed the gourd to her chest, her eyes shining with hunger. "Let it choke me if it must. As long as Sember falls, I am ready." She bowed, turned, and walked back through the forest, her steps heavy but her heart burning with new fire. That night, while Sember slept in Taraku's room, glowing in her charm-born beauty, Kwadoo sat alone in her hut. She uncorked the black gourd, dipped her fingers into the thick, dark ointment, and rubbed it across her skin. A cold shiver ran through her body. Her reflection in the small water pot shimmered. For the first time in many moons she smiled, a sharp, dangerous smile. The war between the wives had entered a new stage.